Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Parenting Connection Show. Today, I want to tell you a story about actually, they're going to tell their own story about two incredible young people through homelessness by themselves. They figured out how to graduate from high school. And so I just wanted to spend some time spotlighting graduating seniors and talk about some that went through some things, but in spite everything else, graduated. Hello, Sufi and Zoo. Welcome to the show. And um, so y'all had some things come up probably for the last couple of years. Tell us about some of the things that you struggled with growing up.
I would say mostly to start out with was stability.
Oh yeah.
Because like literally my whole 18 years, like his whole 19 years, we've never just had like one steady place.
Yeah.
So that really does.
Every 1 or 2 years we were moving around. So
ends up taking a toll.
Ever since like maybe 5th grade, 4th grade for her, we've been missing like 2 or 3 months of school and stuff like that. But we never like had bad grades or anything like that. So we would like our grandma or mom probably or something like that would happen, or the family would have to move around, and then we'd miss months of school and then come back and just finish what we could. It's always been like that.
Yeah.
And so despite everything, I do want to note that Zoo received like a $70-some thousand scholarship to college. And so what motivated, I mean, because I know this year was a bad year. You were both homeless.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they in this, normally when we talk about homelessness, there's usually a mother and father involved with the kids. They're with them. But these two had to survive on their own together. And so can you tell us a little bit about that?
So we did have different experiences. So we did experience it. So me, I had to start, like I moved out when I was 16, like from with my dad. Okay. So I started like really young and I stayed, and I would just like bounce around to like friend to friend. And then, so I stayed there for a year, and then that didn't work out. So then I ended up getting my own apartment with a roommate.
At what age did you have your own apartment?
I was 17.
She's 17. That's still pretty young.
Yeah, I was 17.
So for me, it was like around maybe December of 2021. Yeah, December 2nd that we had a falling out, and so I had to move in with my brother and my sister, Nicole and Caleb. So when I got there, like gas had just started going up, and like my school was over 20 minutes away every morning, so we had to figure out how to get there. So she was taking me for about a month. But then I got the assisted transportation from the school, and I got filed as a homeless student or an independent homeless student. So
and that's called McKinney-Vento. And so there's some stipulations and there's some protections that were there. And so go ahead and finish telling your story.
Oh yeah, so they were telling me I would have transferred to either Woodlands High or another school over there, but I said I wanted to finish out because I was already ranked, and they already had I had scholarships for college to that school and all that stuff. So I didn't want to have to transfer it over and then get re-ranked and all that. So I stayed and just got transportation for that. But then I had to work a full-time job with Caleb, and so I was like getting 2 hours of sleep a night with taking 6 AP classes, studying until 3 a.m. in the morning, waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning. Yeah.
It was same. So I woke up at 4 a.m. and this was at the apartment with my roommate. I woke up at 4 a.m. and I went to work every day also. So I also had a job, but I didn't have any transportation. So usually I struggled to get there, and, I'd be at work and I'm like, how am I supposed to get home and stuff like that. So I worked every day, and then even on the weekends, because I had to pay my half of the rent. But, also at the same time, I'm underage, so I didn't have parents to help me get an ID and stuff like that. So I wasn't able to do direct deposit or anything like that. So I ended up having to, they take a certain fee out of checks whenever you can't cash them, like with direct deposit. So that actually really took a toll because I already don't have enough money for myself. Like it got to the point, like we didn't even have any food in our apartment. Like my primary source of food was work and school.
Ooh, that could have been healthy. Where were you working? Like what kind of?
I was working at a Mexican restaurant.
Oh, well, that's healthy.
Yeah.
So, I'm healthy.
It was
Lord
good.
knows, I don't mind. I don't
Listen.
mind me a good
Yes,
burrito.
I know that's
Some
right.
queso.
It was really good.
Me either, as you can tell.
And that was like how it was for me too, like working all the way until like 11 or closing on a school night and then having like tests the next day.
Yes.
Like,
oh my God.
I would work until I would get home from school at like 2, or I leave early for early dismissal. So I leave school at 1, then get to work at 2, then stay there until 11.
Yeah.
And then I'd get home, shower, and like I would like eat the lunch I bought at work and then like eat that for dinner and then wake up or study and then wake up and then I like study on my phone. Like I have to study like on the toilet, like when
Yeah.
like,
You got to get it in when you
like-
can. Oh my goodness. 'Cause, like, okay, so for me on weekdays, I went in literally as soon as I got out of school. So my shift started at like 4 in the afternoon. We got out of school at 2:40. So I didn't get any time to go home and change anything like that, to bring my work clothes to school, and then I have to make my way over to work. And then I didn't leave or go home because I closed most of the time. So I was there until 12. And then, plus the time it took me to get home, and I wouldn't get home until probably like 12:40, almost 1 a.m. Then I have to wake up like 3 hours later for school. And I just did that every day. And it's a lot.
And I've watched some of this play out with these young people, and I'll let the cat out of the bag. These are my in-laws. These are my in-laws, so I'm not exploiting them. But this is family, and they were willing to share. And actually, Sophie, she's kind of hot on TikTok.
Mhm.
She's kind of, she has her little show on there, and she has lots of followers. And as you can tell, she's very beautiful. And Zoo is very handsome.
Not keep talking.
So, but yet through the struggle, they completed.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people, they would have gotten so overwhelmed with the struggle and dropped out of school, but you stayed and y'all walked across the stage almost together.
Yeah.
This
Still
year.
got the 10 lines.
Like 2 people passed out. It was
something, but I'm like, you know what? No, we worked hard. We're gonna walk across this stage, and then because like not everybody in our family has like complete.
That's usually where the hurdle is. Like it's like a curse almost. Like right there at high school, like one of our brothers he had like 1 credit left, and then he didn't finish for like 2 years when he went back and got like the credit recovery program, and then Caleb, and like it's really a hurdle like right there. Like usually, especially with the boys, like my mom is like college grad, like she's like she has a 2-year degree.
Yeah.
So she's went to college, so she has an early childhood degree and stuff like that. So she has some college education, but she never finished college. But my dad, like not a high school graduate,
like 10th grade,
but very intelligent.
I think it's hard sometimes for people that haven't graduated to understand. They understand the importance when they can't make that money.
Yeah. So when you're doing it, it's like I got a lot of lashback in the whole college application process, and people are just like, why are you stressing yourself out? Like I was writing these essays and SAT prep and all this stuff, like staying up, like the textbooks this big, having like 2 bags with 40 pounds of textbooks and notes, and like they're like, why are you doing this to yourself? Like it doesn't even matter. And I was just like, yeah, but like studies show like the difference between like happiness at 30 years old is literally a 4-year degree. Like between the difference is a high school or GED and a 4-year degree, like that's a difference in over $20,000 in income. So I was like, have that to live.
The teenager did his research.
Yes. No, because like a lot of people will be like, oh, if you're going through all this, like you don't know where you're gonna live, your next meal is like, why are you doing all of these like extra activities and stuff like that? Like me in the theater, and Zoo was really like more so dedicated to than
visual arts and academics. Yeah.
So like I come to school, I have my work bag on one hand, and I have this big duffel bag with all of my dance attire and stuff, and for theater, so like I'm going to work, and then also like practices for stuff like that at state levels. Like you have to go places overnight, like you go to hotels and stuff like that to compete, and people are like, okay, well, see, I don't know why you would put yourself through that or like doing this. So, but instead of dwelling on the bad things that will happen, you can change that energy and make it into motivation. Instead of, you can choose how it's going to affect you. You can like, okay, am I going to sit here and dwell on the fact that I don't have this? or am I going to motivate myself in order to get to that point to where I could have that?
It's called Grit.
Yes.
That's a great book, by the way. Grit by Angela Duckworth. I think
Mhm.
everybody should read it.
Yeah, so like-
tell them the
Grit by
educators
Angela Duckworth. It's a great book about grit. It's a study. It's a New York Times bestseller about a study about what pushes people to their best. It went over like military cadets, doctorates, PhDs, and what was the common factor in like them achieving their success or what they would consider success. And it was grit and perseverance.
And so I think people are going to be following y'all after this show. After I boost it up and edit it up.
Okay,
But also something. So both of y'all, but two different kinds. Both of y'all have been interested in some kind of theater or
Like
drama?
performing
Yeah,
arts.
performing arts. I was in theater like middle school, but when I got to high school, I missed a year of school, so like because of the dysfunction of the family, so I came into school and she had already been there, and she was in theater, and then basically we were like real butt heads, like we're too similar. I let her have theater, and then I went up through art and like
They
architecture.
could do it together,
Yeah,
you know.
no,
I mean, I love them.
we would
I need
still
the
like
moderation.
at the award ceremonies and stuff, like both of our names would be on the list, like because it's like the art department. So like we do like board speeches and stuff like that. I think one time the one she didn't come to was because she didn't have a ride there. It was like
I was still struggling with transportation and stuff like that. So it's a lot of like stuff I missed out on because I wasn't able to get to school like at all.
But she still has the award. Like they gave you the award.
I mean,
she just didn't show up to everybody.
Okay, so some of my friends, believe it or not, I do have some friends or associates or people that I talk to and I get guidance from. I know a lot of people that are in film, you know, in one way or another. In the past 2 years, I've made some connections and everything. And so I'm hoping that somebody will see this. Would you be interested in Chris? Question. She's all over. She's ready. Hey, let's see who's over there. Oh, Andrew Martin's on. Andrew has a crazy story too. Hey, Andrew. Hey, Sharon, and thank you for coming in. Y'all share this show out. So anyway, I in the process of the last 2 years, COVID was very horrible to some people, but it was very good to me. And so I got a radio show, I got a TV show, and I'm not good at any of them, but you know, I got it. But I've gotten to meet very interesting people, and a lot of them are in Christian film. And so that is rising big time. And so I think not only do y'all have a story to tell, but y'all are also talented as, you know, actors and actresses. And so if y'all need to get in touch with them, get in touch with me, and I'll get you in touch with them. I'm gonna play agent. So what would y'all say to young people? Because believe it or not, homelessness among youth is not uncommon. It's not, you know, it's not a thing, but it happens. And it happens, and rarely do we see young people that figure out a way by themselves how to finish school, and then like Zoo get a scholarship, $70,000 in scholarships a year for 4 years, he said. And
so that's about like $400,000 in total.
And so you better finish.
I
I mean,
know.
you already started.
Yeah, I've already.
And she said he is.
I'll take my placement exams this summer and all that stuff. So
Okay. And so if y'all have any questions for them, go ahead and put it in the chat and we'll answer them.
You said, what do we want to say to like?
Yes, I want you to other kids, because you know, yes, absolutely.
Going to like a heavy like POC school, I think our school is 60% Hispanic, or 40%, or 30-something%, 36% Black, and like 2 white, and then you had Asian. So it was like largely POC, but you have like in
what's POC?
People of
color.
Okay.
So but even erasing the race line, like you have white people who would go to school with us who are also experiencing the same things, the same problems. So it's more of like the proletariat, the poor. And I think the biggest issue with us or in the resource is like how to access resources, because the resources exist, but no one knows how to access them. Like some people I've figured, like when I've tutored people or talked to them, they it's like hard for them to even do a simple Google search to figure out how to get to resources, like how to get to free insurance or how to get to free transportation. They don't know what to search or who to talk to get the information they need. So they feel stuck because they don't know how to reach out. So it's all about speaking out, even if you don't want to, because we don't like to express our struggles.
Like in a certain aspect, you feel like, okay, well, if I'm going through this, then I'm just burdening or like putting my problems on someone else. So I'm like, if I'm feeling the way I feel, I don't want other people to feel the same emotions. Like I wouldn't wish that on anybody else. But
I would have like my college counselors and my program managers, like who helped me get a program called Emerge, the Emerge Fellowship, which helped underserved communities, students from underserved community, first generation college students get to college and graduate from places like they sent over 500 students, I believe, to top class Ivies. Like my school's a little Ivy, Swarthmore College, and then I have a friend that's going to Harvard, a friend that's going to Emory, a friend that's going to Tulane. Like I have friends going all over. I have a friend going to Duke. Like,
so is that program just specific to your school?
No,
or is
well, I think for HISD, I believe it's free. That's where it's nonprofit, or I believe it's nonprofit in our district, one of those ways. But our school district paid for the package, so it's paid for, and they get they get some students per class. So they start in 10th grade, and then they raise you up, and they show you the whole college process. They give you free SAT prep and all.
So we have Gear Up, and so where I work, we have Gear Up. So I guess that's kind of the same.
Emerge is expanding though.
But I guess the main thing that I would say is, don't be afraid to communicate.
Yes.
Because that was my biggest problem. But then I started communicating to teachers and stuff like that. Like, even when I had my apartment, like she was like my theater director. Her name is Monet Salone, shout out. And I called her mama though. I called her
Everybody called her mama.
And she would she would take me out to restaurants, like, because she knew that I didn't have like enough food, like, and she would drive me home and she'd take me to work and stuff like that. So you really need to communicate and trust in.
It's all about support system.
It really is. It really is, because I had like this thing with authority where it was just like I didn't feel comfortable speaking up or talking about it, because you never know how things are gonna go. But you'd be surprised once you actually open up and talk about it, especially like when you're dealing with mental illness or issues like that. It can just like bring it down to a whole different level. So,
okay, so I'm going to take it to a dark place. Just recently, even though with the amazing graduation that just had for both of y'all, Sufi, you went through a period of depression. Tell us about that, and why do you think that happened? Because you're beautiful, you have the whole world open up to you, but that doesn't mean everything.
Yeah. So for me, it's been there for a really long time, because I'm saying, like, specifically with stability and not having anybody that I felt like I can confide in about it or anything like that. Because usually when I would open up about my mental illness or like my depression, people's literally, and it's so bad. The main thing people say when you open up about stuff like that is, okay, well, you just can't be sad. You can't let that.
Or they hit you with the,
and
I'm
I was
sorry.
Yeah, like I was like,
sorry.
oh, don't be sad. Like, dang, I wish I would have thought of that. Like, but it's just like, but yeah. So then specifically, like, going into homelessness and not having anywhere to live from 16, and this I didn't get the chance to be a kid.
None of us did.
None of us got the chance to like just be kids, and it's so weird going in around other kids that aren't going through the same thing as you, or who can relate
so much,
because it's just like you feel like you're alienated from them, or like you're on the outside looking in, because it's just like their worst concern about the next day is like picking what clothes they're gonna wear,
or their mom,
or like what color they want to wear.
Mom didn't, or like I had friends. So I graduated like in the top, what I was like, magna cum laude, summa cum laude. So I graduated like in the top 10 people. I was ranked 8 out of 650 people. So when I would do these study sessions and go to the meetings and stuff like that, or like give with people, like I didn't have like, for me, it's not about like knowing the test prop or like the stuff on the test, and like I could study all I wanted to. I knew all the stuff, but it was like the tools, the resources, like the computer, like being able to join the meetings, being able to get a ride to the place where we were having the meeting or stuff like that. So a lot of times they'd be like, well, you're qualified, we want you to make this speech. And I'd be like, I don't have a ride, I live in the Woodlands. And people are like, ooh, that's far. Like, ooh, gas is expensive right now. So then I would like talk to all my friends, and they weren't going through the same thing. Like the 1%, like at my school, like the quartile 1% of graduates, none of them were going through the same thing I was going through. Like they had their own like family issues and stuff like that, but they all had stable homes, like 2 parents, cars being bought for them, a driver's license. Like for me, I couldn't even go to a college trip because I didn't have my ID, my state ID, and I had just turned 18. And they were like, you can't go because you don't have a state ID. And
So do you have all that stuff now?
I have it now. Yes, I have it. I got all that.
You need some?
Yeah.
We gonna work on getting this stuff. We're gonna make sure they get what they need. So you were talking about the dark place, and then what came of everything, and after you went through the deep depression, you got some treatment. I don't know, how did you pull yourself out of that?
Really, I feel like growing up in a Black household, there's like this really negative connotation around therapy. So like, you instantly think like for like most people in Black households or like people of color think, well, you need therapy and you're instantly like, you're crazy. Something's wrong with you. But whenever you go into it, they tell you it's not that you're crazy. You're a normal human. Everybody goes through things. The wiring in your brain just happens to be different. And that's all it is, and that's what they help you work with. So they help you keep, they teach you like coping skills. Like one that really works for me is like a breathing exercise, and it kind of just helps. Like, no, it's not effective. It's you breathe in for 4, hold for 6, and then breathe out for 4, and then that's something that really helps me. So I was able to learn like coping skills, and mainly communication is one like the hardest thing. I think people really overlook how important it is.
Have you ever lashed out about, because at this point, I experienced some trauma, and it took some therapy for me to realize, for the therapist to pull out of me that I was actually angry about being allowed to be hurt in the school system.
Right.
And so, because it's just kind of you signed up to do it, and so in your head as an educator, you feel like that you're not allowed to be angry. And do you think some of it came from from not being able to lash out, not having anybody to lash out to?
And then it for me would get to the point where, because I held it in so much, it would explode, and I'd lash out on people around me, even though they're trying to help me. But because you're so blinded by like, why does this keep happening to me? Like, what have I done to deserve this to keep happening over and over again? Then people, it's getting to the point that you don't even want to hear other people be like, oh, it's gonna be okay, because it's like, well, I've been waiting for it to be okay for the past 18 years and it hasn't been. So it just feels like empty work.
Like saying everyone's wired differently, so certain people deal with that. Those like maybe depression thoughts or like suicidal thoughts, they'll deal with them and be like, oh no, like they'll just keep going, or like people deal with it differently. So for me, like when I would go to school, like I do have like bipolar disorder and other things like just like her, but I just deal with it differently. So I took like a spiritual journey and like read the Tao Te Ching and like who I'm named after, and discovered like different aspects of meditation, stuff like that will help me, and praying and like talking to God and stuff like that. That's what's helped me get through like my hardest times. So I always like, even if people be like, oh no, that's not real, and oh, you can't put your faith in, I'll be like, no, it's worked for me so far. Like I've never made it through.
I mean, it depends on that person. Like for me, my outlet was theater. So if I was feeling like angry, if I was feeling sad, I could go on stage and put that energy into making something that can make someone laugh, something that can make someone cry. Like the power of emotion can do like a million things, and it's really, really something that's overlooked. Like,
that's powerful. Visual arts, like painting or making a sculpture,
music, like
expressing yourself. The arts is important.
Something that's speaking whenever you feel like you can't. Basically.
Back when you were saying like people, like you were saying, like when people try to help you, would lash out at them and stuff like that. For me, I've experienced like having to withhold or suppress those, as I'm pretty sure you have too, like as Black people in the professional world.
Because you do one thing and then you're automatically deemed
aggressive. Crazy Black woman. Aggressive Black woman.
Black man and stuff like that. So and then the things with like having to straighten I've had to straighten my hair for certain meetings, or had to like tie it back and straighten it back and like tie it into just to look professional or have the image of being respectable. So like especially going to a prestigious white university in in less than a month, there's probably only about 180 Black students on campus. But these are people from all over the world, like not just Black Americans. These are like Africans and stuff like so. You really have to like find your groups or find your support systems and a lot of people go through what is called like if they feel like they belong, like it's like a rejection theory, like they feel like they don't belong or like they don't belong there because like me coming from thankfully Philly, I have a friend who came from our same high school who also goes to that university, but like you feel like you don't belong. He said he struggled with like feeling like he belonged there because these kids like have been learning how to take the SAT since they were in 4th grade. They have private tutors. They say, oh, I want to go to the Bahamas and just go for a weekend. And then like, oh yeah, I'll just hire a tutor to study for this class. I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna do it, stuff like that. You don't have access to stuff like that. But they do, and you're in rooms with people who all graduated out of their class, who all graduated and have like actual wealth. Like, they're paying for it out of pocket.
And that's another thing. Like for me, I always felt like I didn't belong anywhere, no matter where I was. Like it was, and then it started getting to a certain point where even things that
she's so beautiful. She belongs everywhere. You know, and this is what people are really thinking when we don't know. We don't know what people are actually going through until we actually communicate and find out. So go ahead and speak to everybody, and I forgot to do that. I forgot to tell people who you were with the thing. So
we gotta know that.
So look, we have about 1 more minute.
Okay.
Encourage the seniors of next year. Especially ones that are struggling.
Especially with mental illness, or if you're going through like homelessness, like the main thing that I can push is that you need to be able to communicate and you need to be able to talk it out. You need to find those people that you feel safe enough to talk about it with. Or if you don't have anybody in your immediate life, then branch out, because dealing with mental illness in high school is a lot more than people would know, because they're like, oh, well, you're a kid. What do you have to be sad about? Or you have these certain circumstances in your life. You shouldn't be sad about these things. But they can build up. Anybody can go through trauma at any age. So really, I would just say, like, don't give up. You shouldn't give up, because they got to a point to where I wanted to. And then, you get to the stage and you graduate and it's just like feeling of relief. Like I did that.
It did feel like way too little short. But here's another thing I have to say, because I know a lot of the people and like of my 2 of my friends who are juniors who are now seniors. What I have to say is reach out to your teachers like they're people too. Like they will understand and cope with you. They're not robots. They're not just here to give you bad grades. Like they're here to help.
And most of the time,
some of them have gone through the same exact things. Like I have a teacher. She's like my mentor. She went through homelessness. She went through a whole bunch of things like that, and she has 2 doctorates now, going for a 3rd PhD soon. She's taught ESL. She knows like perfect Spanish. Like she's really something to look up to. But she's not working. She could have worked anywhere, but she's working at Westview, like at my high school. So I appreciate people like that. It's important to reach out to them and talk to them, because if you don't, you'll never know. Like I got scholarships that way. I got access to opportunities that I would not have had access to otherwise. So.
Moral of the story though, love yourself, because you can't love nobody else. You love yourself.
All right. Hey, I want to thank you. I want to thank you both for being on the show. This is an amazing story. I'm hoping that this story will reach many people. Be blessed and go live life and get college done early, because by in your 30s, you will get to act like a kid. Bye, y'all. See you on the next show.